So Karla, thank you very much to accept to participate in this video. So can you share with us how is the transition process from postdoctoral trainee to independent there in UK?
So in the UK, you mostly have two different routes that you can follow. One is the Chancellor's Fellow, which is more research oriented, and we have also the lectureship. So the lectureship is you need to share your time between teaching and research. You have your time to do research, but you also have the teaching duties involved. So the lectureship is a permanent position. So you start as a lecturer, then as you progress your career, you acquire more grants, you are more involved in teaching and also other duties within the institute. You progress to senior lecturer, and then again you can progress to reader, and then you become professor. Professor is the last step of the career. It's a little bit different from the US, Canada. But it's more or less that's the sequence we follow in the UK.
And if you want to have one of these positions, so let's start with the lecture that you are explaining. You need to go through a selection process?
Yes.
Or it's just you send your CV and whatever is available they may
No, there is a selection process which is mostly based on an interview or you present your 5-year career plan to the institute where you are applying for the position, and then after you have a formal interview with members of the institute, the HR. So you need to apply for the job, and then you go through this selection process, which is becoming more and more competitive right now.
Okay.
Like in the UK, it's becoming very, very competitive because the CV from the applicants is getting much better. So that's why it's
And what about the chancellor path?
So
is the same way, like there is a selection process, or is based on applications, deadlines that you have to apply and see if you are selected?
They open the position and then there is a deadline. So then everyone applies and they select a number of applicants as they think it suits the institute. So they select some applicants. They go for the same process. They present their career plan, and after they have a formal interview with members of the HR and the members of the institute as well. So it's a similar process. The difference is that the Chancellor Fellows they supposed to be teaching protected for 5 years, because that's the length of the Chancellor's Fellow. So they have 5 years to develop their career, to develop their lab. So then to apply for grants, they can also be involved in teaching, but supposed to be a little bit less compared to the lectureship.
So they have more protected time for research than the lecturer, where the lecturer has to teach more.
Yes.
But in terms of like the competitiveness, like if they are similar, like the level of competition for both applications, they are similar, or
because the Chancellor fellow positions, they are more they're focused on research, so they're looking for applicants that they have secured some funding, their own funding as applicants. So if you have, for example, let's say they have 3 applicants, three people selected for the next step of the selection. So if one of them they have let's say a grant already secured, probably it's very likely that this person has advantage already compared to the other if they don't have. So because it's mostly research oriented, focus on research, if you have some funding secured already, you probably have some advantage compared to others.
So in this case, UK allow postdocs to apply for grants?
Yes, they do.
Okay,
they do.
so
because I could have applied for the chancellors as well, but when I applied, my time I only had the lectureship. So, but yeah, postdocs can apply for the Chancellor's Fellow as well as the lectureships.
But for grants, like, and do you have, like, because you said that if you have a funding when you go to, you have better chances.
Yeah.
So from where comes this grant?
Yeah.
So there are some competitions in UK that allow postdocs to compete and secure fund for themselves, not for the PIs.
Yeah. There are some great funding agencies focused on postdoctoral fellows. So as a postdoc, you can start applying for grants as the main applicant, So of course you have the senior PI with you. Most of the time for a postdoc you need the senior PI. But for example, you have the Academy of Medical Sciences, even the British Heart Foundation. They have some grants for postdocs. So you apply for the grants and you secure. It's a relatively good amount of money to start your own research. So
Okay.
there are quite a lot of options for postdocs in the UK to apply, even small grants, but from small grants to really good grants
Okay.
for postdocs.
And how was the start? Like, how is the start? It's starting a lab. So you got your position either as a lecturer or a chancellor. So with a chancellor fellowship. So what is the next step? Like, do you get startup funds and then you can start like some space dedicated for a lab? How was it for you and how is it in general in UK?
So I'm going to talk about my experience in the university I am right now. So either for a lecturer or a chancellor's fellow, you have a lab assigned to you. So once you start, you have a startup money. It's not a lot, so it's not enough for you to start your own lab, of course, but you have a startup and you have a lab space for yourself assigned to you as soon as you start. But in my experience, for example, when I got there, they gave me a lab space, but there was nothing in the lab. So it was really
Empty
hard.
lab.
Yeah, it was an empty lab. So I had to. So my startup was try to buy the basics, but of course I had help from senior PIs.
So
researchers.
you need to create collaborations
Yes.
when you start
Yes.
to have some sort of structured
Yes,
support there.
definitely,
This
yeah.
was very
Yeah,
important for you.
This was very important to me. I was lucky enough to know a really good researcher, a very well-known researcher in the cardiovascular field when I started in the university I am in right now. And she helped me a lot because I moved from one university to the other, and my former supervisor, she moved to another country. So then when I moved and I knew this well-known, a great researcher from previous collaborations, she helped me a lot. See, even participating in her lab meetings was essential for during my start there, my time there.
And so I suppose that she's also playing the role as your mentor.
Yes, she was.
So you had support of a mentor
Yes,
throughout this process,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it was essential for you.
Yeah.
Do you think
It
it was
was,
very
it was,
important?
it was
Which
crucial.
steps that do you think that they play a really key role for you?
So I was lucky enough to have several mentors throughout my career since my PhD, because I did an internship in Glasgow during my PhD, where I found several mentors, including my supervisor. So I think they were essential since my PhD, because it was when I realized I needed them to give me some advice, to help me with in different aspects of my career. And so I started with the mentors right there when I went abroad to do part of my PhD. But then in my postdoc was really, my mentors were essential right there, because it was when I decided to transition from a postdoc to a lecturer. So then it was essential. But when I moved from one university to the other to start my lectureship, so this mentor was essential because she helped not only helping with the lab equipment, but also to understand better the system within the institute, to get to know other researchers within the institute, to start new collaborations, and also to understand how things work in terms of applications, grant application, funding applications. She gave me a lot of advice in terms of applications. She was always there to help me when I was writing grants, reading grants and everything. So I think that was essential during my transition period.
So it was like the mentor was essential to secure this start for you, like to give you an environment that is kind of giving you some confidence to start well. And
nowadays I have, because I've been there for almost 2 years, so now I know much better people in there, and I have developed new relationships with people that I now consider than my mentors as well. So I always go to them when I need to discuss something, discuss a relationship with a student, or if I have some trouble and I want to discuss something with someone. So so now I have a bigger range of mentors to help me.
Okay, thank you very much, Karla.